Alright, Kyujin, this might not work that well. I don't know why my camera app isn't really working, but I can't see the preview. Um, it's just a still picture of me clicking on the computer, so I can't really tell if these are good until after I make it. And so this is my fourth time doing it, so I hope it's good. You should be able to see it, but I'll, uh, I'll also be explaining as we go along. So, if I remember correctly, the questions are just, it asks about the action potentials in both the cardio ventricular muscle and also the action potentials in the SA node. And then it also wants me to go over the P wave, the QRS complex, and the T wave. So we're going to start with the graphs first. So we're going to start with the cardiac ventricular muscle. So this actually has more of a negative resting membrane potential. It's going to be at a negative 90 instead of negative 60, 70, 80, what we're sort of used to. And it's going to have different phases. It's going to have sort of like a plateau at the beginning, rapid jump up, sort of a little bit of plateau here, a fall off, and then it goes back down. It'll sort of curve into it. And so we're going to label these 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we start off at 4, which is just resting membrane potential. As soon as 0 happens, what happens is 0 is going to give an influx of sodium. So sodium is going to rush in, and it's going to depolarize the cell. Depolarize. I think another thing it asked was the ions that are present. So for O, we're going to have, it's just going to be the sodium, sodium. So these channels are also going to open, and it's going to be sodium. So now we're at 1. 1 is going to be the I-chloride channels are going to open, which is then also going to start repolarizing the cell a little bit, hence why there's a little bit of a dip here. So it's going to be a little bit of repolarization. And I think that's it for 1. But for 2 is actually the plateau phase. And so that's when we're going to have these IK channels that open. And so there's going to be a bit of a plateau because we're going to have IK channels open, but we're also going to have these voltage-gated calcium channels open. So calcium as well. And so calcium is trying to run in, potassium is trying to run out. We have sort of an imbalance, but there's we're having sort of a net even. That's why there's like a plateau here. Because potassium is going to want to leave, causing us to go down, but calcium is coming in, which is going to want us to go up. So that's why we're sort of having this. And then in 3, what happens is the voltage-gated calcium channels basically close. So they'll close up. And then the rest of these long calcium or potassium channels will open. So the ultra-fast or ultra-rapid, rapid, and slow. All these guys are going to start opening up around here. And then we're going to hit 4 again, which is where we started. Now 4 is going to be, or I guess what I should also say is that as this gets more and more negative, that's when the calcium channels are then going to close. And then as it also is not having much of as it hits membrane potential, then these IK and all these are going to close. So once we hit 4, these potassium channels, all of these, are all going to close up, and we're going to be back at resting membrane potential. I'm probably going to erase this because I don't know how well you can see things on any other part of the board. So I'm just going to erase this. I think that's basically everything. I mean, in 3, we also have this thing called IK1 that's going to open up. So these are all going to close, and potassium, I guess just the normal potassium channels are going to open up. And then we're going to hit resting membrane potential. But I think that's about it. So I'm going to erase this now. And we're going to do something sort of similar, but still a little bit different. We're going to have a graph again. But this time we're not going to be at negative 90. We're going to be at negative 60. And this graph is going to look sort of like this. With this being threshold. I forgot to put the threshold in the other one, but it's just right above where it like shoots up on the cardiac ventricular muscle. So this is going to be for the SA node. Now, one thing to notice about this as opposed to the cardiac ventricular muscle is that there is no resting membrane potential. There's nothing that this really, I mean, there's technically one at negative 60, but this never stays at negative 60 for the most part. Like, this is more like an average because it'll constantly be changing. For this graph, we only have 3 different phases. We have 4, 0, and 3. And then this is 4 again. And this is a 0. So this sort of stops like right here. This is what we're looking at. So for 4, we're going to be introducing a new type of channel. So this is where the funny channels open, which is also the HCN channels open. Excuse me. But basically, this allows sodium to come in. So sodium is going to make its way in, which is going to be a gradual depolarization. As you can see on 4, we're not shooting up, but, we're just taking our time. We're making our way up there, It's slow but steady. Once we hit threshold, it's going to shoot up. We're going to get in stage 0. And in stage 0, we're going to have these voltage-gated calcium channels are going to open. So these things are going to open, causing a massive influx of calcium, which is going to shoot it back down. We just hit let me take a step back. We're here. My fault. We're right here. Voltage-gated calcium channels open. We're shooting up now. It's a massive influx in calcium. I guess the IC, I guess I could do this. These are going to be like our channels. IF, HCN. These are our channels that we have. And stage 3, we're going to have the voltage-gated calcium channels that can close. This will cause a repolarization of the cell because now the I potassium channels are going to open. So we're going to have an IK channels are going to open, causing a repolarization of the cell. And we're going to start dropping back down. And once we drop below threshold, then the potassium channels are going to close. So repolarization, but once we get below threshold, IK will close and IF will open. And then once IF opens, so we're gonna like right about here, all of these are going to be closing, all of the IKs, potassiums are closing, IF is opening. Once IF opens, we're going to be letting sodium in. And that's going to be a gradual depolarization again of the cell. So yeah, we've gone over like the stages on both the cardiac ventricular muscle and also the SA node. We've talked about the different, we talked about the stages, we talked about the different ions that are in it, what happens, what channels they go through, and yeah. So I'm not going to erase this one. And the last thing we are going to talk about now is EKG. And so when we have a graph of EKG, we're going to be given, you'll have a little bit of a bump, you'll have a dip down, massive dip up, goes back down, dips back, comes up with a bigger bump. And that's basically, it'll restart. This probably could have been a little bit smaller, like that. Except my drawing is atrocious. And so what we have here is we have Q, R, at, sorry. We actually have P, Q, R, S, and T. And so what's going on with these is if I can draw a heart in layman's terms, because it's going to look absolutely awful no matter what I try. That doesn't look terrible. Okay, so up here we have our SA node. Right here we have our AV node. And then over here, I'm just going to do it. This is going to be the apex because we talk about it a little bit. And so what happens is with the P wave, we're having depolarization of the atriums. So this depolarization is coming down. It's not a whole lot of the heart, but it's enough to get that negative vector going towards positive. So we're going to have a little bit of a jump. And then the AV node is going to spread out from here, and it's going to all depolarize too. Now, it's not, I guess, directly on the AV node. In the book, it showed it like right here. And so a little bit of it starts going towards the negative sensor. Yeah, I should probably have labeled these. So that's why there's a little bit of a dip on the Q. But then the majority of it is going to be shooting down towards the positive, and that's why we get a massive increase. And then it'll branch out as it comes back. That's like a massive decrease because it's going to be shooting down the bundle branch and then out the sides for the ventricles. And so that's where we are at S. And then, now that it's all depolarized, now it's going to repolarize. And it's going to start from the apex, and it's going to go out and go up, and make its way back up the bundle branches until everything is depolarized. And so that's basically how this works. Is for the P, you're going to have it shoot out this way, it'll come back down. For Q, it's going to have a little bit shoot up this way, dips down, then starts massively coming down. You have a really good vector going down now in a negative. So boom, shoots up. But now you're having negative go back up. So net vector is sort of just going up, which is going to cause it to go back down. And then starting from the apex is where this T wave is going to be, because now it's going to repolarize, and so these negative charges are going to go away, starting from up here. So now you're having more of a positive charge shoot its way up because you're losing the negative. And so you're going to come up. And then once that T wave finishes, the book did say that there is sort of a wave for like the repolarization of the atrium, but there really isn't. We're not ever going to like quiz on it, talk about it really. There's also the U wave, but this is the P wave, T wave, and QRS complex and how it fits in with the heart. Yeah, so there's that.